You spent 4 years in college. NASA astronauts learn orbital mechanics, Russian, robotic arm surgery, spacecraft systems, and emergency medicine in 18 months. 18! Not 4 years, not a decade, 18 months. And they don't just pass a test, they perform flawlessly in zero gravity, under pressure, with zero margin for error. How? They aren't geniuses. Chris Hadfield, one of the most decorated astronauts alive, said it himself. He wasn't the smartest person in the room, he was just trained differently. I reverse engineered the entire NASA cognitive training system. Interviews, astronaut memoirs, training manuals. It comes down to 3 methods, and by the end of this video, you'll never approach learning the same way again. Chapter 1. The Impossibility Method. Most people learn by trying to succeed from day 1. Read the chapter, pass the quiz, move on. That's why most people stay average. NASA does the opposite. On day 1 of astronaut training, they hand you a manual written in Russian. You don't speak Russian. That's the point. They call it stress inoculation. They overload you on purpose. Why? Because your brain doesn't actually lock in information when things are easy. It locks in information when it's confused, struggling, and slightly panicking. Psychologist Robert Bjork at UCLA spent decades proving this. He called it desirable difficulties. When learning feels hard, encoding runs deep. When learning feels smooth, your brain barely pays attention. Most students avoid confusion. They reread the same chapter until it feels familiar. That feeling is a lie. Familiarity is not understanding. It's the illusion of competence. The average student recognizes information. The astronaut owns it. Here's how you use this. Don't reread, close the book. Try to explain the concept out loud from memory. Fail, hit the wall. Then go back and read only the part you got wrong. The confusion is the lesson. The struggle is the learning. If your study session feels comfortable, you are not learning. You are just spending time near a book. That is not the same thing. Chapter 2. The Mission Clock. Astronauts don't study, they train on a mission clock. Every single session has a specific objective tied to a real outcome. Not study fluid dynamics today. The objective is operate the Canadarm under system failure conditions in 17 minutes. That is the difference. Specificity creates urgency. Urgency triggers focus. Focus triggers encoding. Most people sit down with a vague goal. I want to learn Spanish. Learn what? For what situation? By when? Vague goals produce vague effort. Your brain cannot encode what it cannot visualize. NASA figured this out decades ago. They never train without a scenario. You are always simulating a real situation. You are always working against a clock. Here's your version. Before any study session, write 1 sentence. What specific thing will I be able to do after this session that I cannot do right now? Not understand chapter 3. That is not a goal. A goal is explain the 4-step glycolysis process out loud without notes in under 2 minutes. Now your brain has a target. Now your attention sharpens automatically. Now you are not studying, you are training. There is a massive difference. One produces knowledge, the other produces capability. And here's the part most people skip entirely. Chapter 3, the debrief loop. After every single simulation, every single training exercise, NASA astronauts sit down for a debrief. What happened? What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? What changes next time? Not a celebration, not a rest break, a structured post-mortem. This is where actual learning happens. Most students finish a practice test and check the score. Astronauts don't check the score. They autopsied every wrong answer like a crime scene. There's a reason for this backed by hard science. A 2003 study from the University of Toronto found that people who spent time analyzing their mistakes after a task improved performance by 26% on the next attempt. People who just repeated the task improved by almost nothing. Your mistakes are data. Your brain does not naturally extract that data. You have to force it out deliberately. Most people feel bad about mistakes and move on. Astronauts feel nothing about mistakes. They just want the information inside them. Here's the exact debrief format. 3 questions. 1. What did I get wrong? 2. Why did I get it wrong specifically? 3. What is the smallest possible change I can make before the next attempt? That's it. No long journaling session. No self-criticism. 3 questions, 5 minutes. Every single session. Done over time, this compounds. Each session you come in slightly smarter than the last, slightly more targeted. The improvement feels small daily. It looks enormous in 3 months.
Now here's the truth nobody wants to hear.
You have access to every book, every course, every piece of information in human history. Astronauts had a locker, a manual, and 18 months. They learned more. The limitation was the advantage. Constraint forced them to go deeper, not wider. Most people have too many resources and use none of them properly. You don't need more information. You need a better relationship with the information you already have. Stress inoculation, mission clock training, the debrief loop. 3 methods, 0 excuses. If this changed how you think about learning, I want to ask you something genuinely. Hit subscribe, not because I want the number, but because the next video goes even deeper into how the top 1% of performers actually wire their brains for speed. And if you subscribe, you won't miss it. You deserve to have that information in front of you. It's the least I can do for you staying until the end. Here's the problem though. You now know how to learn. But if you still can't focus long enough to even start, none of this matters. Most people know exactly what to do and still do nothing. The real enemy isn't the method, it's distraction. That's why I made this video breaking down exactly how to rewire your brain for deep focus in 7 days. Watch it next.